MLM Nation, this is Simon Chen. I'm fired up to have this power couple on. I finally got them on the show. And I remember she reached out to me and said that MLM Nation was a part of her journey, which made me really, really excited. So we have Aaron and Ginger Decker. Hey, Aaron and Ginger, are you ready to make it happen?
We are fired up, Simon.
Aaron Decker was a former two-time rodeo world champion, had an entrepreneurial background, but turned to network marketing 17 years ago, and since then has earned millions in lifetime commissions. His wife Ginger was a natural health doctor who's been featured on radio and TV, including appearances on Fox News and the Dr. Oz Show. And I could go on and on about them, but I wanted to keep it short. We'll talk more about it on the show. But anyway, today they are full-time network marketing leaders who have achieved numerous awards in the company, including the #1 Power Rankings in the U.S. and also won their company's Vision Award in 2017. So anyway, Aaron and Ginger, I can go on and on. Why don't you share a little bit about your background? How did you two come across network marketing?
I'll let you go first.
Well, I came across network marketing, incidentally, because of the product end of things, not so much the business. But when I understood what the model of network marketing can do for someone and can do for creating that residual income, I was all in.
For me, it was a little bit different, Simon. I actually grew up in a little town in Michigan, and my dad was a school teacher. My best friend's dad was a triple diamond in a company that most people have heard of. It's been around for 60-plus years, and so I literally could have written Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And my dad was the poor dad, so I had that entrepreneurial spirit. Started a traditional business at age 16, financially retired at 32, got to live a dream, riding horses and rodeo, and I woke up one morning late, and a friend called me and said, "I'm sorry, your investment was a Ponzi scheme, you're broke." And that's when network marketing, a couple weeks later, on my way to a rodeo in Fort Worth, Texas, found me.
And you're a rodeo champion. I want to talk a little bit about that because we never had, we've had over 600 people here, never had a rodeo champion on the show.
You know, I'm not supposed to be, right? Because, people always tell you you're not supposed to, or people like you can't do that. And Simon, I've always had people that have told me I can't do things my whole life. And I believe that's just their opinion. And so I actually got into riding horses and rodeoed. I did cutting, roping, and team penning. That's what I was world champion in. And back late 1997, I actually had an accident and crushed my arm, had multiple surgeries, like 16 surgeries. And the doctor said, "You'll never use your arm again." And riding horses was the one thing that I could still do. And so I just made up my mind that that's something that I wanted to do. And I ultimately became a world champion.
Normally we go through a series of questions on the show, but I got to ask you about that farm. What happened to your arm? What happened?
So it was early morning. I was a workaholic, and a friend of mine had let me use a piece of equipment. It's called a skid loader. And I was going to change an attachment, and it malfunctioned, and a steel arm came down, and it actually crushed this arm and this arm. It popped about 4 inches of bone out of this arm. And, I can just remember bits and pieces. But through that whole thing, and I'll never forget, Simon, when the doctor walked in, I remember it like it was yesterday. And at that time, all of my nerves were crushed, so I couldn't move anything. And he said, "Aaron, you'll never be able to use your arm again." And in that moment, Simon, and that relates to our business, right? But in that moment, I thought, wait a minute, Doc, you don't know if your dinner's going to be good tonight. Don't tell me that I'm not going to use my arm again. Now, it happened to take 3.5 years of physical rehab and many surgeries and a lot of different things to overcome. But after that accident is when I went on to be a 2-time world champion.
So this is relevant to a lot of our listeners. Probably have warm markets, friends that tell them you can't do this. You can't do it. This will never work. Especially you can't. I mean, come on. You're like a shy, quiet person. You can never make this happen. What advice can you give them? Especially maybe they themselves are thinking that, I can't do it. What advice what's the self-talk that you have? What can you help these people with?
Well, the thing is we all got to reach deep down inside, and when somebody says that we can't, so you gotta differentiate, right? So you can't fly to the moon on your own power. You're right. But when somebody says that you can't based on something that you can learn a skill or you can get past, over, around, or through from personal will and drive, then it just becomes a personal thing. And we got to reach deeper down in ourselves and say, wait a minute. Where are they getting that perspective? That's just their opinion. And if we listen to their opinion, then maybe we should sit back for a moment and say, wait a minute, do I want to listen to people's opinions that will dictate my entire life? Because that's what happens, unfortunately, in our society to most people.
Yeah, that's the saying. If you buy their opinions, you're buying their lifestyle.
That's right.
Right. How did you develop that mindset? Is it from your the network marketing experience, the Triple Diamond background?
I think part of that was being around kind of that, like I said, that rich dad, poor dad mentality growing up. But a lot of it was, and maybe it does go to that, because my best friend, he always had all the stuff, and I always got his secondhand or hand-me-down stuff. And at a young age, I thought, wait a minute, why does it have to be that way? And so, Simon, I just started to ask myself a different question. Instead of, why does this happen to me? What can I do to change it, right? Like, it's just changing the question. And I believe for all of us in any part of life, mostly it's just the questions that we ask ourselves. If we would shift it in a different perspective, we get a different result.
Really good. I'm sorry to ignore you, Ginger, because Aaron's going off here so good. Give an example of a question we ask ourselves to shift it.
Oh, absolutely. So instead of saying why I can do this, I can't because I'm shy. I can't because I don't know anybody. And deep down inside, if we peel back the layers, for most of us, when we were somewhere around ages 3 to 5 or 12 to 14, we were told that we can't do something. And then whatever that was, we take that meaning and we live our entire lives out with that meaning. And so it's just that negative self-talk. Oh, who do I think I am? I can never be on MLM Nation. I mean, I'm just a shy guy from a little town in Michigan that wasn't supposed to make it. I was the one that everybody said that, Aaron, you won't even talk at a birthday party. You're the guy in the corner. You can't do this. And here we are, being able to not only share with you, the world, but literally tens of thousands of people around the world. And Simon just leading by example, saying, wait a minute, I wasn't supposed to be the guy. She wasn't supposed to be the girl. You might not have been the person that people would have thought that would step up and literally help change our industry by what you do.
Thank you for great wisdom. So, Ginger, how did you get into network marketing? Like, someone with your background, what attracted you to network marketing?
Well, I was introduced via the products. Someone came to me and said, I think you'll find these products Dr. Ginger approved. And I'm really picky about ingredients. And so I was super impressed with that. So I initially got involved, and the model wasn't even on my radar. I just wanted the products. And so as I kind of got involved with the company, understanding the model of direct sales, I was like, wow, this is something really spectacular. And so I feel like, it's the golden ticket. You have the opportunity to have that freedom that you're looking for and create that residual income. And as a physician, I get to reach so many more people doing it this way than one-on-one in an office.
What do you think is a lot of the common mistakes that people make, and that's why they're stuck in this profession? I think Aaron, you talked about it. I think I can't do it. You start having these doubts because it goes back to your programming, right? What else do you see people doing wrong?
I don't know anyone. I'm thinking, you know plenty of people. But probably once they get into it and they start kind of trying to get the hang of things, which, by the way, your podcast totally made me a network marketer. But it's that consistency of those daily activities that, it's just network marketing is a totally different game than perhaps what they're used to. And so just understanding the rules of this game and understanding those daily activities and then just being consistent with them, even if you don't feel like doing it, at least giving it 15 minutes a day minimum of doing those daily activities.
And you said the podcast, that's pretty cool, made you a network marketer. In what ways did it make you a network marketer?
Oh my gosh. So Aaron would tell me all of these things, and you're not a prophet in your own town, right? And I would just kind of.
Aaron's always wrong, right? He's like,
in terms of the rules of network marketing, and because it's different than anything I'd ever done before. And so I started listening to your podcast, and I was obsessed. I mean, I'd be up late at night, and he'd be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm listening to MLM Nation. And what I learned by listening to all these different people from all over the world with all these different backgrounds, all these different ages, is these common nuggets, these common golden nuggets that created this theme for me. And when all is said and done, it came back around to the same things he was trying to tell me. So that was like, it was like the light that went off. I'm like, okay, he does know what he's talking about, and your show really was that light for me.
Could you go back to one or two moments that was probably the profound moments for you in network marketing? Like maybe it was something that Aaron said, but you never listened to him. But like, oh my goodness, this is it.
Absolutely. This is actually something we kind of joke about now. So we drove like 4 or 5 hours to do a presentation with what was supposed to be a room full of people. So we get in. Now we're in Michigan, and so we're driving in the snow for like 4.5 hours. We get there, and there's like 2 people there. And we do our presentation, and it was successful with those people. And we turned around and came home, and I gave him such grief. I'm like, I can't believe we're driving 8 hours to go talk to 2 people. From now on, we need to have everyone RSVP. This is ridiculous. That was in the very beginning. And then I started listening to your show and listening to him and understanding that you only need one. You just need that one person that can go knock it out of the park. You don't have to have a room full of duds. You can just have a room of a stud, right?
Yeah, well, at least you had 2 people show up. Imagine, Aaron, what would happen if those 2 people never showed up?
Well, nothing, Simon. I actually drove to Miami, Florida before with somebody, and kind of an interesting scenario. We got all the way to Miami. I'm 3 weeks into network marketing, and somebody said, you know what? Find somebody that knows people in Florida. So I found somebody here. I said, hey, I'll drive you down there. We go to Miami, Florida. I am in a mobile home park, those 60 model mobile home parks. And we did a presentation. Here's the problem. It was all in Spanish. I speak no Spanish. And so they asked us if we'd stay at the house. So I'm sleeping in a bedroom, and there's this horrible storm. And finally, the guy comes in that I was down there with, and he says, Aaron, the hurricane is hitting. It was like Hurricane Andrew or one of these hurricanes. The next morning we woke up, everything was shut down. All the power was off, semis, and we just drove home. So I literally drove to Florida, did one presentation, and I didn't know if they were mad or excited about what we showed them, but the next day nobody made a decision. We just drove home because of the hurricane.
Wow.
This.
Yeah, and like some of you a lot of you listeners out there, like I always joke around. Have you ever done a meeting where your prospect didn't show up? Okay, and if you've never had a meeting like that, you just haven't prospected enough. Right?
Exactly.
Hey, so Aaron, when you got started, what was the aha moment for you that that really afterwards things really clicked for you in network marketing?
I'm gonna so you use the word prospect, and I know what you mean by that, but I think that word for a lot of people has a different connotation. And so the moment that I realized that I wasn't going to go out and prospect, meaning because I had more of that, I'm going to go hunting for new people that I can get, right? And so I went from that mindset of I'm hunting for people and I got to go prospect somebody today to just totally allowing myself to not have that pressure. And I'm just going to go out and connect with as many people as I can and see if in that conversation there's a need that they qualify for what I have to offer. And that, Simon, changed everything.
Yes, because when you're a hunter, people can sense it.
Yep.
And they kind of run away. Now, this is my favorite question. And what is your worst moment in network marketing to the point that you're like, oh, why did I even do this? And you wanted to quit, but you didn't. And that's why you are where you are today.
I have to go back to that story I told you earlier about driving 4 hours and 2 people showing up. But because that was probably like the worst thing that can happen in terms of going to a presentation. And now I'm okay with it, no matter who shows up. So that I would have to go back to that story.
For me, Simon, it would be that worst moment is when I put a ton of time, effort, and investment into an individual and help them grow a successful business and really, help to lift them up and just did everything that you could. And then they decided, you know what? They didn't want to take this path anymore. So they took themselves and a lot of other people to a different company. And so got the opportunity to start over. Now, in that moment, that wasn't such a good moment. But looking back, I believe some of those worst times that we go through, looking back, are always some of our best times.
In what ways? I mean, you lost an entire team. In what ways is it a best time?
Because I learned so many important lessons from that, right? First and foremost, I learned about myself, right? And I learned that, you know what? If you can do it one time, you can do it again. And what was really hard, and I think what some people have to fight, is to not get jaded, right? Because that could steal your belief in people. And I think that's a fine line that we have to walk here with as network marketers, right? And not lose the belief that there truly is tremendous amounts of good people. And so you just keep believing and just understand, I don't expect that to happen, but if it does, it's okay because people are people.
Now, you've been in the profession for a while. How have you seen the profession change?
Oh my goodness, dramatically, right? From being first class on trains, planes, and automobiles to sitting in a living room or in our office talking to people literally globally, to having tools. And again, I know we keep going back to you, and I hope people really understand. This isn't because this is genuine. Simon, you, Tim Sales, there's some other people out there, the Eric Worreys. There's some people that have been out there that have, the Ray Higdons, have helped change and reshape our industry, right? And back then it was like you were in your car and you're going around, you're spending hundreds of miles and countless hours getting home late at night when you're the only one who's awake, getting up in the morning. And today, it's a profession just like any other profession. If you can go build a massive income or even a small income from the confines of your own home, in traditional business, you're a success. And here we're now able to be a success.
Yeah, I think you can't deny that it works. There's so many resources and proof now. Like back in the day, it's aside from the stuff you hear from your company, it was really hard to find other stuff out there.
That's correct.
It's more mainstream now. Now, how important is consistency to success?
It is absolutely the key. Even just those little 15 minutes a day. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't have time for this kind of industry or kind of second gig." But it's the busiest people that can actually be very successful because they've learned to manage their time. But even if you feel like you don't have a lot of time, just 15 minutes a day can start that ball rolling. That's all it takes. Consistency is key. I always say that.
For me, Simon, it's consistently connecting with people no matter what you're doing. Most people are running into people throughout their day, and it takes nothing to just greet somebody. Hey, how you doing? And if they respond, there's a conversation. And I teach people how to have that conversation and be comfortable and confident when they ask you what you do.
In terms of consistency, what routines do you have? In terms of, Ginger, you talk about 15 minutes a day, but do you build it during certain times a day? What do you do? What's your routine?
Well, for us, quite honestly, both of us are full-time. So we get up, we live on a ranch, and so we've got some things that we do every morning, and we both got our routines. Kind of check, see who's new on the team, reach out to people, consistently following up with teammates that are currently building, as well as welcoming new teammates and kind of helping them lay out a plan of success, and then find out where they want to go, right? Consistency has to do with so many different things, but Simon, my definition of the consistency might be far different from the person that just got started. They want to consistently get to here. I can't make them or force them to get consistently to here. So we meet them where they're at and then develop a strategy or plan to help them get to where they want to go, not where I want them to go.
If someone is struggling with consistency, what advice could you give them?
Start with one thing that you can do. In its consistency, and by the way, this I think it's applicable to everything, every habit that it takes to be successful in anything, and start to recondition your subconscious mind, right? How many people, so we're coming up, it's going to be New Year's here, not too far. How many people are saying, this is the year I'm going to do this, and within the first 24 to 48 hours, they've already quit doing whatever that is? Because they've conditioned their subconscious when they say, hey, I'm going to be consistent, that means that it doesn't matter because there's no repercussions. So what I challenge people to do is say, okay, let's start 5 days a week and do one thing. So it might be consistently making one phone call, one contact. I don't care what that activity is, as long as it's in that funnel of income producing activities. And we start with something that they can do. And then what I teach them to do is start to build on that. Don't stretch too far, but teach your subconscious that, hey, I've been consistent. Here's what I've got. Let's stretch it a little bit more. We're going to add to it. Here's what I got. Then pretty soon they've built on that. And then when it's time to go for something important, that consistency now has compounded, and they'll make sure that they hit it because they've conditioned their subconscious mind to do it.
That's great advice. I always say start with one. One is better than none, right? It's like if you can't do any push-ups, just do one push-up. And then over time, you get stronger and stronger. You develop that routine. Hey, you two have been awesome. I want to, as we go to the end of the show, I want to give you, I'm going to ask you some quick questions to pick your brain. Okay, and these are going to be quick one-liners. So the first one is, what is your favorite success quote that motivates you?
When life knocks you down, land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. That's a quote by Les Brown, and I like it because, number one, you got to see where you're going, and you can't be going down. You got to be going up. Number two, I firmly believe that you got to pray to the man upstairs for the faith and the hope and the encouragement, and that's an important thing. So I'm always looking up, man. When life knocks you down, look up. If you can look up, you can get up.
What about you, Ginger?
I've already said it a couple times on this show. Consistency is key. I drill that into everyone, because when you have this opportunity, you're your own boss. A lot of people aren't used to that. They're used to being told what to do. And so they have to kind of get that mindset. So I'm going to stick with consistency is key.
What is one habit that's helped you become successful?
Go ahead.
Whenever I'm out, just meeting people, greeting people, making those connections. And I've learned a lot of that from him. Even when I'm pumping gas, like saying hello to the person on the other side, they might not answer me back. Think I'm some crazy woman trying to talk to them, but just being comfortable having conversations with people.
Simon, follow up, follow through. That is definitely a very important piece of the puzzle.
Yes, the fortune is in the follow up. What is the best piece of advice you ever received?
It only takes one.
Even takes a 4.5-hour drive. It's just one.
Yeah, exactly.
Mine is be curious.
Yes, learn to ask better questions. That's
really early on in my career, a very successful networker said, Aaron, the one thing that I can tell you is always be curious.
Awesome. If you have a qualified prospect, what's your favorite prospecting tool? Do you send them a PDF? Do you do a Zoom? Do you send them an online video? What do you like to use?
We use a lot of videos, but again, we're using the whole system, right? I like systems, but we've created a lot of videos that help people walk through wherever they're at when they're getting started. So if they have a particular hurdle, we'll just shoot them a video that can help overcome that, because it's much faster and duplicatable.
Do you have a favorite app on your phone that you could recommend?
Well, we use Zoom a lot, but we also, I got that MLM Nation podcast right there.
What is that?
And honestly, every person that starts, that's actually part of our protocol when we get them started, like things to do is get that on your phone. And if I'm with a group of people and they're just getting started, we get the phone out and we have them, subscribe right then and there.
So our company, Simon, has an app that we all use. But true story, and I can tell you just recently, we've got a new teammate, very successful guy, comes out of corporate America. And true story, he has talked to many quality people, and listening to you is probably the number one reason that he is in, because of your story about how many people it took before somebody said yes. So again, the number one app that we use outside our company app would be directing people to this podcast.
Hey, that made my day. That's really cool. I helped you recruit someone.
True. Totally true.
I've actually heard that a few times, but never like a big time executive, a corporate person. That's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
That made my day.
Well, I love truth, right? And that is absolutely true. And he will be, I promise you, and someday he'll be on your show, and he'll come back and he'll say, the reason that I'm here and the reason I stayed in the game is because I heard Simon Chan and his story about how he got started. Because this gentleman has had some of the best people that we've shared with, and it just hasn't been the right one, but he's fishing in the right pool, and it's just a matter of time.
Awesome. Hey, if he can beat my 1 for 42, let me know.
I will.
Hey, what is 1 or 2 books you could recommend to ML Nation?
Absolutely easy, but go ahead.
Well, for me, Greatest Networker in the World. That's one that I highly recommend, especially to beginners, to kind of, again, get that mindset in this game of network marketing.
Simon, mine would be Extreme Ownership. Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. That is a book that is solid, and it really helps put in perspective not just this industry, but life, right? everything that I do or don't do, especially when it's applicable to this industry, it's really my fault, right? If I'm successful, yep, that's my fault. If I'm not, yep, it's my fault. It's not my upline, my sideline. It's not the training. We've all got access to the tools. And I think the moment that somebody realizes, wait a minute, and that book is so powerful explaining that.
Yeah, I love that, especially if you like military. The stories behind that is so good, and it's like that's actually when we really grow. When we say it's everything that's screwed up is my fault, because then you look inward, and that's where you make personal development. As long as you stop pointing outwards, we never grow.
Absolutely.
Here's the last question, the $1 million question. You know it. You ready for it?
We're ready.
So imagine you had to start all over again, and you knew no one. You didn't know each other. Your contact list was 0. But you had all your current knowledge, skills, and wisdom. What's the first thing you do or the first place you go to build a network marketing business from scratch?
I would get out in the community, go to the mall, start meeting, greeting, and qualifying.
That's it, Simon. It's just going out there, and I would have conversations with as many people as I can. In that conversation, I always will ask them what they do, and that just goes to step 2, step 3, step 4. You guys, there's people everywhere. I'm more old school, although we've got some great technology. But today, that's how I would do it.
So Ginger will go to the mall. Where would you go?
Where would I go? I'm going to go to the busiest place that I can. So I'm not a big city person, but I would go to the cities, and I would just go downtown and in the little coffee shops and stuff on off times, because you're going to find people there that traditionally don't have traditional jobs, right? So if I'm in a coffee shop and it's 10 o'clock, why are they there, right? They're not working a 9 to 5, and so they might be a little bit more entrepreneurial minded. That
is great advice. And also, when it's during off hours, those people are less rushed. They can talk. Right. When during you're getting there at 7 a.m. in the morning, everyone's trying to get the coffee, get the heck out of there. Right.
Yep.
Really good advice. Hey, awesome. As we wrap up, any last words or advice? And then what's the best way listeners can connect with you guys?
Well, so Simon, I don't know if you realize we met in our company. So, all those single people out there, you never know what can happen. And we've been together almost 5 years now.
But the one thing that I would say, and here's the piece of advice, and this is where I see many, many, many people failing. Not failing, quitting. I don't think you can fail in network marketing. You quit. And people, Simon, and we talked a lot about, meeting, connecting with people. What they do is they mix up the greet, qualify, that invitation with the presentation. When you're out connecting with people, don't present to them. Be clearly defined and invite them so you have a set time to share your company's information on how that works. But don't start to give them a half a presentation while you're standing there. That's going to be arduous and hard. So my advice is really get good, practice, role play. I mean, we work with our team. We role play, like back and forth. We practice in anything else in life, but when you got a business that can literally set you financially free, we tend to not practice. So practice on not mixing that invitation presentation.
Awesome advice, especially when you give that half presentation. You normally sound very unprofessional and very desperate.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, there's no posture out there, and then people just don't like, oh, I'm not interested. Or they'll ask you, how much money are you making? Because you sounded terrible. Hey, thank you so much. And what's the best way for us, our listeners, to connect with you?
We are both on Facebook, Dr. Ginger Decker, Aaron John Decker, and actually I'll give my email out if you'd like. It's drgreenjuice@gmail.com, drgreenjuice@gmail.com.
Hey, ML Nation, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And today you'll be hanging out with 2 superstars, Ginger and Aaron Decker. So keep up the momentum. Go to mlnation.com. Just click on the podcast tab and the show notes, and also the link to Ginger's email, their contact info, their Facebook profile will be right there. Hey, in order to be successful in network marketing and in life, you must help others. So Ginger and Aaron, thank you so much for sharing your valuable time with ML Nation. We're grateful to you, and we appreciate you for having a positive impact on millions of distributors worldwide. Thank you so much again, and God bless you.
Thank you,
Thanks, Simon. God bless.